So I'd like to introduce our speakers. Today promises to be a very educative session. We have two speakers. We have Ankit, who's an Agile enthusiast. He constantly looks for opportunities to promote people-centric and agile ways of working. He's currently a senior consultant, an Agile lead at HSBC Technology India. Ankit has been a speaker and reviewer at some of the renowned national and international Agile conferences. Ankit takes an active interest in mentoring people, aspiring people to become Scrum Masters and product owners. He's a strong believer in diversity, equity, inclusion, and allyship. He's an Excel nerd and a big-time Marvel movies fan, as you'll see when we start the session. He's always available to discuss these topics. Moreover, a cup of tea or coffee. We also have Rucha. She's also an Agile enthusiast with over a decade of experience in software and product development. She's currently the global head of diversity, equity, and inclusion data at Springer Nature. She firmly believes that diversity, equity, and inclusion are essential to creating a productive and innovative workspace. And as an Agile practitioner, she strives to incorporate DE principles into the Agile framework to create a more inclusive and collaborative team environment. She's also committed to allyship and research diversity and has spoken at several conferences. As a leader in business analysis and Agile methodologies, she enjoys facilitating workshops and meetings that help organizations embrace change and drive innovation. So we'll just go through the session outline for today. Our topic is Agile Product Journey, and we're looking at from idea to inception. So how do you turn your ideas into a project plan? And how do you define what qualifies to be an MVP while designing a product roadmap? How can you make your requirements more user-centric? Agile Product Journey is about idea to inception, and it's a very interactive workshop. So today we'll be having breakout sessions where we'll interact with each other. And during the sessions, we want to convert your ideas into a product backlog and devise a project plan out of them. So we'll have a couple of hands-on activities. You'll be put into groups, and during the group work, you'll be able to identify users for a product, prioritize and estimate the requirements, and define what your MVP is. So the outline for the session, this is what it will look like. We'll look at managing products. We'll look at strategy and product visioning. We'll look at user goals, persona and journeys, and also user stories and product backlog. We'll also examine prioritization, estimation, MVP, and finally, project planning. So now we'll go straight to the session. I'd like to invite the speakers to please start the session.
Thank you, Urvaini, for the lovely introduction, and thank you everyone to take this time out to meet with us. We really, really value your time. So can I take sharing now?
Yes, please. I'll stop sharing from this side.
Thank you. So this was a quick introduction, but Urvaini covered most of it, right? So yeah, I work with the HSBC Technology India as an Agile lead. I'm leading one of the transformations. Yeah, I am a big nerd for Excel and a very much Marvel movies fan, right? And I believe I can survive just with tea and coffee if you want to ever catch up with me. Right, and robotics happens to be another one of my hobby and my interests that's I like to pursue in my free time. Okay, over to you, Rucha.
Thank you, Ankit. A very good evening and good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, everyone at IIBA. Thank you for organizing this. I just don't want to thank Odini, Ramzan, and Sid, because I know a lot of work and meticulous planning goes behind this. So a big thank you to everyone involved. And most importantly, the participants. It's quite a big commitment to be here on a Thursday evening, and I really appreciate that. A little about me. I'm Rucha Ramchandra Kapre. I I'm born and brought up in Pune, and I absolutely love the city. If you happen to be here, please holler, and I would love to take you through the city. It's a wonderful place. Apart from that, I'm currently working as the global head of data in the field of DEI. I'm very, very tempted to talk a little bit about it. So I work with Springer Nature, which is the world's second biggest publisher. And everything that we do today, right? Like the products that we use, be it the technology, cell phones, laptops, or even the vaccines that we take, is the research of yesterday, right? Somebody has researched on these things in the past. Now imagine this research is done by like-minded people. What would happen, right? You are going to get away from innovation and so many good things that you might not have even thought of. And which is exactly where researcher diversity comes into picture. So far, I think a lot of us hear about diversity of the employees or diversity within the teams that we work with, but this is an external facing thing. This is diversity of the researchers, and these could be scientists, PhDs, professors, doctors, even working throughout the globe. So that's a little bit about my role, but I started as a BA. It's my first love, and I'm still a BA at heart. Every problem that I have in life or every idea I need to solutionize, I always take the same approach. It's just the foundation, which I'll be talking through in the coming videos. But yeah, that's pretty much about me. In my free time, you'll see me either associated with some social causes. I am into training and coaching. And of course, I don't smuggle dogs in a suitcase, but yeah, I love those, and I do not find an appropriate picture for it. But that's me. And now, moving on, before we begin the session, just a few hygiene factors. This is a collaborative session, right? And we want to hear from you. It's very, very important. So please share your ideas. It is an interactive session. Try to be present. If you can get away with all the technological gadgets that you have around you for a little time, it's a request. That would be amazing. Be inclusive, very important. While you share your ideas, respect what others are trying to say as well. If you can have your web camera on, that would be awesome. And in case you have any questions throughout the session, we will try and address them as we go. But in case we are not able to do that, please add your questions to the parking lot. And then either after the session or after today, we will definitely come back and answer those. Yeah. And now let's see how we plan to spend the next 90 minutes or so. We'll do a quick icebreaker. Then we will look at what is a product and what is the value associated with it. We'll look at users, user journeys. We'll try to look at what a backlog is. Maybe if possible, look at a user story and create one. Have a look at story maps, MVP, and release planning. And then finally, we'll collect it all together. What Sid mentioned in the beginning, I really loved it. So individually, we know a lot, right? But collectively, if we connect all these dots, it opens a plethora of information for us. And that's exactly what we've tried to do. We've tried to connect the dots. So you might know about a user story, you might know about visioning, you might know about plans. In this activity or in this session or on this board, what we've tried to do is we've tried to connect all the dots so that you have like one plan right from the end to beginning where you can convert or monetize also your idea. Cool. Then let's begin. But before we do, I'm also very tempted, because this is a product related session, to ask you a quick question for which I'm going to share a link with you. If you're able to access that link, and if you go to slide number 5, what I would want you to do is take a minute and think of, if you were a product, like you as an individual were a product, which one would you like to be and why? And you can key in your answers in slide number 6, this is equivalent to a virtual post-it. That's what I love about workshops. You can use as much stationery as you want if you are doing an online workshop. So take a minute and enter in, if you are a product, which one would you like to be and why? That's quite fascinating. I can see some options come up.
Is there a way somebody can type in for me? Yes. This is said, I would like to be a Swiss Army knife.
That's amazing. Yes, I can do that for you, sir. There already. Okay, let's take a few more seconds. And there's no wrong answer to this, so please don't hesitate, whatever product you think of.
These are such interesting ideas.
I'm just going to invite like 1 or 2 people who want to share what they want to be and why. Okay, there's another time machine. That sounds like an interesting one. Do you want to share why? Of course, I know why, but then nice to hear from you. That's a good one. Thank you. I love to travel, so I would want to have a time machine, like without spending a lot of time on flights and trains. And one more thing, feel free to unmute and talk if there are any questions or even comments that you want to add. Okay, we have a smartphone.
Wow, ice cream machine. That's a good one.
Ah, the second reason is good one as well. Another Sapiens book in the making, probably. Okay, Ankit, why don't you quickly move on to the second slide as well? Let's see what people have there and then. Okay.
Cooking machine, camera, supersonic aircraft. Wow.
That's wonderful. Thank you everyone for sharing. This was just to set the context, but now moving on, and I bet it's going to be as much fun. Let's talk about products. Do you ever wonder how these products that you see around you, be it Amazon, Google, or even Spotify, and there are a lot of Indian variants. I don't know if people would be able to relate. There's like a lot of food delivery apps, a lot of customized shopping apps available. Do you ever wonder how these products were conceptualized? If you do, I think then you're at the right place. So there are many products around us. Sometimes they may be hard to spot, but there is always a product. And if there's a product, there's always a customer and there's always a producer. Now, a big confusion that people have is between customers and users, but your customers could be either your users or buyers. So a user is anyone who uses the product, gets some value out of it. And a buyer is essentially a person who pays for it Sometimes a user and buyer could be the same individual. More often, it could also be a person, they could be a different individual as well. For example, if you take a Uber subscription for yourself or for your personal use and you are paying for it, you're also using it, you're both the buyer and the customer, buyer and the user. But imagine if you're using a corporate account, like your organization has done a subscription for you, then they're the buyer here, may not be essentially receiving value as you as an individual, and you become the user here. That's the subtle difference. And when I say value, there are different types of values an individual might get out of it. It could be either a functional value, like for a smartphone, you're able to make calls, you are able to use the internet, you're able to browse, use social media and things like those. There's also an emotional value attached to it. Like some products capture on the sentiment. For example, if you look at products which are high end or premium products, they capture on the status or the premium value of it. For example, when iPhone was launched in India, it was like big status symbol. So that was kind of their USP. It captured on the emotional value of people. Likewise, there could be a social value attached as well, like the social interactions some applications allow you, like Facebook or even LinkedIn for that matter. So there's a social value attached to it. And of course, the last one is an economic value. And these are not limited. I'm just giving some examples of value. Economic value is basically, some product helping you save money, like systematic investment plans, or some product which is helping you make money even for that matter. Right? So this is the benefit or value a customer might have. And if there's a product, there's a customer, there's always a producer of this value. And the benefit to the producer is either increase in revenue or decrease in cost or societal benefit. And I'm just going to use like one example of Uber since I started with it. So for a producer, if there's an increase in revenue, it might be, making X millions of money in the coming year, or it could be a decrease in cost. So once there are more people onboarded on the platform, the cost of the platform is going to go down, or there could be a societal benefit even for the producer. Things like them helping in reducing the carbon footprint if you're doing a Uber pool, which is essentially like a sharing of your cabs with individuals. So that's a little about product. If there's a product, it should deliver a value. Like the first thing that I've learned as a BA and as a principle of software delivery is you ask, if you're doing something, why are you doing it? So what is the value it delivers? Who does it deliver the value to and how? So why is the value? Who is the individual, which is the customer here, and how is the process in which you're delivering the value? Now moving on, and Ankit, if you can zoom in the value bit. Yeah, thank you. So value refers to the benefit or the advantage an individual would get. It could be, and these products could be tangible or intangible. They could be a physical product, it could be a virtual product, but there is always some sort of value attached to it. The value factor is very, very important because it influences the decision making of an individual, whether they're going to purchase the product or not. Value is very, very different from price of the product, and hence it might be difficult to quantify. But if I have to give you an example, there is a very, very subtle difference between what value is. And so, for example, if you're working more hours to deliver or to working on a task to deliver some output, which could be like a feature or a piece of code or even like a functionality. So the task that you're performing is the working hours or the activities. The output that you get is the piece of code or functionality. But the outcome that you get is the value the person derives from the functionality. So output and outcome are very, very different. What we want to focus here is on the value. And the only way to deliver value is to make releases. Like only when you send it out to the people, it could be in the form of a POC, or it could be a prototype, or it could be an actual delivery. Only then you'll be able to validate if it really works or not. And the best way for you to know if you're delivering value is to measure it, and to measure it, you need to release it. Now, moving on, and I've said value a couple of times. How do you see that you are moving in the right direction, and if your product is actually delivering any value? And one of the best ways to do it is to identify whether your product or whether your idea is valuable, is to do a product visioning exercise. And there are multiple ways of doing this visioning exercise. Ankit, if you can move to the frame below. So the first one is looking at product as a box. And the second one is elevator pitch. The very reason you want to do these exercises, you want to capture the USP or the essence of your product. It helps you give the bigger picture. So whenever you're working on small activities, this is like the North Star where you can refer back to things intermittently. It also helps build a shared understanding. It helps capture the key features that you would want to have. And most importantly, it answers the 3 or 4 questions that I asked in the beginning. You know, why you are doing something, for who are you doing it, and how is it going to help them? Very important. So product in a box is essentially, it could be an 1 or 2 hour workshop in itself. But essentially, when you walk into an aisle of a shopping center or like a small shop, there's so many products which call out to you, right? And they claim so many things. They want to make you sharper, taller, stronger, or even help you look leaner. And how do these products make those call outs? So if you look at these boxes, like the front cover and the back cover, you will see there are a lot of things. And there's one example of Kellogg's that I've added here. Is it will tell you, like, you know, it's going to make you leaner, and these are the top 3 features it has, or these are the top 3 ingredients it has. So Ankit, if you can move to the right, please. That's the Kellogg's box. Yeah. So likewise, there's literally a box and people are asked to do this exercise. We're not going to do it. This is just for your reference to know as an alternative. What we are going to do now is a very, very quick activity of an elevator pitch. So as the name suggests, it's literally a pitch you can give to an individual when, say, they're in the lift and the amount of time it takes to go to a certain floor. So you might just have 60 seconds to convince them. And you need to tell them about what your product is, what's the USP, how is it better than your competitors. It's a very, very popular way of organizing your thoughts. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people here who are fans of Shark Tank. So it's essentially pitching your product in a way where you just give the most information in the minimum amount of time. So now what I'm going to request you is to do this activity. But before that, let me brief you on what a pitch is. Some of you might know it, for the interest of others, I'm just going to quickly explain. There's a set format, and all you need to do is just answer the questions in that format. And what you will get in the end is like a beautiful statement, which tells you what your product is going to deliver to people. Right? So is everyone ready to do this activity? Give me a thumbs up. I think there's a reaction available in Zoom. Awesome. Thank you. So let's look at the format quickly. So the statement is like divided into 6 or 7 sections. The first one is for, which talks about the target audience. Very important. If you don't know what the target audience for your product is going to be, you're going to be lost. And there are a lot of products in the market which really don't know who they're catering to. So customer segmentation, very, very important. What's the problem these people are facing? So who needs something? So there has to be a problem, or there has to be a benefit that helps these individuals. Then you talk about the product. So you probably give like a cool product name to your product. Uber, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it means anything, but you come up with like a nice catchy name. And then you mention a category. Like, for example, in my case, I've mentioned like it's a cab booking or a cab service system, which here you mention like the key benefit and the reason you're purchasing the product, or the reason why you're intrigued to buy it. And then you compare it with your competitor. So there might be many cab booking services available in the market. For example, there might be the local taxis, especially that's what we have in India. But compared to that, why would someone go for a system like Uber and not the taxi? So you have to convince, compared to a local system or any existing system, how is a product better? So that's essentially, if now I look at the statement below, it is for, and here I'm putting myself, because as a working professional in an urban city who has commuting needs or wants to like go to office, Uber is a cab service that allows customers to book cabs on demand. And unlike the local taxis, it is very fast. It has a GPS tracking, which makes me feel safe if I'm especially traveling at late hours, and also gives me a provision to make online payments. So that's a pitch which captures very, very nicely and in a crisp way what Uber is. I'm going to stop here for a few seconds to see if there are any questions. If not, we move on to the first activity.
And Rucha, are we individually then going to narrate our pitches? Is that what the intent is?
No, so we are going to get into groups of 6.
Okay.
And in these breakouts, if you look at the slides that we've put up, each group picks up a set of like 5 slides. Give your group a cool name. And then here's the elevator format, pitch format, if you go on to slide 10. So all that you need to do is fill in these blanks as a group. So pick a product, have a consensus on what product you want to pick. It could be an existing product in the market, but try to be innovative. Let's give the world a few new products today. So fill in these, go wild, be creative, fill in these things. And then we come back, say after 8 minutes, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're stifling our creativity. I was going to go hello sharks, but now I can't do that with this. What you've written up.
Go with it. Go with it. It's absolutely fine. Let's keep a combination of reality and visualness.
Got it.
Okay, so we have 32 participants, so we're going to create them 5 in a group, right? In a room.
Ankit, do you want to go with 5 or 6?
So there are 2 of us, right? So there are 30 other people. I think 5 groups should be okay.
5 groups, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Have them
Just one
make-
request, right? Sorry for people. I'm no Udvani is going to support that, but please ensure for the rest of the session you are in the same group that you start with, so that you can bring your product to a project plan.
Okay. Co-host, do you want to be in the group? No, okay, I'll just create the groups then.
Yeah, if you can create the groups, and then if it's possible, we might just move around if people need any help.
Yes. The groups are open. Please join your groups.
I guess so.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's see what products we have now. So I am going to invite one person from a group to just quickly talk about what product they had. If you've not finished the elevator pitch, it is fine. This was just a simulation to give you an idea. Ideally, it takes a long time. People get into a workshop. There's a lot of brainstorming around pitches, but this was just to give you a fair idea of how it works. So Ankit, can I request you to share your screen, and then maybe we just go in the sequence, and I'm going to invite one volunteer from each group. We're going to keep it quick, like just a few seconds. I think we start from group 2. Group 1 is blank.
Okay. So anyone from group 2 would like to share?
Okay, I'll share. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, really. If you love donuts, our product's for you. Dronuts, a donut delivery service that'll deliver your donuts where you want them, wherever your phone says you are. And unlike other services, we'll use drones, and we will only deliver donuts. So there you go.
This product really makes me happy. It's morning time for me. I have a cup of coffee in front of me, and I would love a service like this. Thank you so much for sharing.
That's okay.
You better put copyright to this, Tim. I'm very sure Rucha's gonna steal this.
That's all right.
Okay, let's look at the next one.
Any volunteers from this group? It's okay. You can just talk
Okay.
us through it. Yeah.
I don't know. Katana, do you want to talk about it or
You can go ahead unless you think I should.
whatever?
I know.
This has been our team. We had so many good ideas and a lot of good conversation. You can see our slide is not fully refined, but I think it was just too many good ideas.
But it's definitely it's all about decluttering and creating an app for that.
Right.
That's a good one. Do you have any market competition? Or is it like a
Don't really
brand new
have
idea?
direct competition, so that would kind of be a blue ocean strategy, like creating a new market.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're going to make a lot of money.
Currently, there is no direct competitor for what we were looking for. I think there are apps that focus on books or electronics only. And we wanted something that was more all-encompassing. So you can go to any item in your house and see what it's worth, post it quickly, and find out its value.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, for group 4, this was an ice cream centered ones. I can see there everyone is thinking about food. But yeah, so our app, our platform is for those with an adventurous palate for ice cream who are looking to discover new flavors, as well as supporting local businesses during their travels. So our app called Find My Ice Cream, it acts as a locator app to find top-rated ice cream shops in whatever city that you happen to be in during your travels. And it just introduces a new way or a different way to discover the culture or the food scene of a new place through ice cream. There's nothing else that exists like this, so it's one of a kind. And our product is tailored to lovers of ice cream and travel.
That's a combination I would die for, travel and ice cream. Thank you so much.
Okay, quickly, team 5, group 5.
Who was team 5, by the way?
It was us. That's our
Okay,
team.
perfect. That's either Amy or Aryan are gonna go.
You can just mention the product name. It's fine. Like it takes time to come up with a good product idea as well. So if you can just talk through what product it was, great. If not, that's
Smartphone.
okay.
Smartphone was the idea. So we democratically chose smartphone as our idea that we wanted to pursue. And so, Amaya, I think you've been taking notes. So if you want to speak to our elevator pitch, I think that'll be great.
Oh yeah. So hello Sharks. Today I'm thrilled to present you a revolutionary smartphone, which is connecting people, staying connected, and everyone. We don't discriminate, so anyone can use it. Not basically not the child, but then from the grown-ups till like the old people also. So everyone has a right to be connected. So yeah.
Great.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Amaya. Is there any group which is pending?
I think that was the last one. We had 5 groups.
Do you just
Yeah,
want to
okay.
talk about the product?
No, I think that was the last one is what we're saying.
Okay, perfect. Then thank you so much everyone for participating. I hope that gave you a little glimpse into the world of starting on product development and starting with looking at what value it could give, who are the customers it could cater to, and how is it going to help them? What is the USP of the product? It looks like a very, very small statement, but there's a lot of thought that needs to be given into it, because eventually over a period of time, that's going to be your north light. That's going to be your guiding star. So whatever problems you have or whatever roadblocks you hit, if you just go back and refer to it, it helps you give a lot of clarity. And hence, there needs to be a lot of thought that needs to be put into an elevator pitch. But thank you so much for participating. For the next section, I'm going to invite Ankit to talk through users and user journeys.
Okay, yeah. So we spoke about products, we spoke about differentiators, we spoke about ideas, values that the product delivers, but who's going to really consume the value or who's going to experience it? It's our users, right? And like Rucha said earlier with a very beautiful example, there could be users, that could be buyers. So when designing a product, right, we really need to focus on who's going to consume it. It may not be your buyer. It would be your user. So your marketing of your product could be for the buyer, but the design of the product or whatever it is that you're building is for users. And the way to identify or segregate users, right, is so there could be multiple users to a product. Each of them have different goals, and that's how you segregate them. So for example, going back to Uber, because that's what we started with. So a person who needs a ride is one of the users of Uber. A driver partner who is willing to drive the passenger around is also a user, right? There could be a customer support who's a user. We saw a lot about the food delivery apps, right? So in this case, there's a logistic partner who is also a user. So users of your app are people primarily, very important. They're not tools, they are not systems. So if you remember the old UML diagrams, right, where we put people and systems together. So the systems are not the users of your app. Users are humans or your people. And to know more about, or to be very close to serving the needs or creating value for the users, it is very important that we understand them, right? So for example, here I've put 4 different type of users for most of the common apps. So someone who needs to say buy or shop, or who's probably gonna pay for the product that you are building. Someone who is either, say for Amazon, right? There are a lot of sellers. So who is going to generate revenue from it? So there's a seller, there's someone, we talked about Craigslist or decluttering. So someone who's going to list down the products. Then there is a delivery partner who, for if it's something related to delivery, of course, if there is a drone, then it's a different case, but logistic partners are also one of the users. And then there's, for example, the organizational users, which are your customer support, admin, or customer representatives, you know. So depending on what role they are playing, there are different users with different goals, and we need to be able to prioritize our users. So, I mean, it's an unsaid rule, right? Customers are obviously the top priority. That's why you're building a product. So you need to prioritize your customers and then focus on their goals. Now, to know more about the users, there's a very detailed activity that we do, which is called building a user persona. I will not be covering that today, but if I have to quickly tell you what user personas are, right? You try to do a sketch of your user. Who are they? What demographics they belong to? What age group they come to? What are the influencing factors? What influences them to make a certain choice towards a product? What puts them off? What is their professional, what is their profession? What does their personal life look like? So we try to do a character sketch or a persona for a user that gives us detailed insights of who our users are or who's going to use the product that we are building and how is that they are going to achieve their goal out of it. Right? So now once that we know who our users are, we would also want to know, so every user will have a set of actions that they do to achieve their goal. And that's what we call a user journey, which is, and defining a user journey is a very, very key activity in building the product, because unless and until you are not able to call out what is that your users are doing to to achieve their goal, you will not be able to create value for them. So mapping down a user journey, for example, in case of an Uber, right? It has to be the set of actions that they take. So for like example, accessing Uber, requesting a ride, then taking that ride, maybe giving payments, and at the end of it, giving feedback either for the app or for the driver that drove them around, right? If you notice, there is no mention of any system or tool of how users will achieve their goal. And that is one key point to remember when you are trying to jot down a user journey. So we're not saying that the user will go and open a Uber app and click on find a ride, because the user goals remain the same irrespective of technology or tools that you use. So your user journey should always be from the perspective of the user who's doing it, who's doing this set of actions. And very, very importantly, it does not need to have, or it should not have any mention of either technology or a particular uh, reference to either an interface or a system or a tool, right? And I have one more example for here, right? Very simple example. If I were to build something for reading emails, right, I would say go to mailbox. As a user, I will go to mailbox, search for emails, read emails, maybe write a respond if I feel like, and then send it. What I'm not saying in a user journey is go to my mail screen, search or type in the search bar, click on read email. These set of actions are very, very specific to a particular system or a product or a tool, and so it may not be relevant when the product changes. What this is called though is a user flow, right? So the specific system or tool related actions that a user would do, these are the user flow of your system or your product that the user will do. Is this the user flow can also have screenshots, prototypes, wireframes if you would like, right? But that most likely they will only come after you've done a very nice user journey. And lastly, one important point, right? So one product can have multiple users. A user having a goal to achieve from the product can have multiple journeys. So for example, we said, I will access Uber, take a ride, give feedback. The other journey could be I access Uber, book a ride, but the ride may get cancelled. Or I book a ride and I change my mind and I may cancel the ride. So there are multiple journeys that a user may go through. And these are the alternate journeys that also need to be kept in mind and then, brought up. Okay, I'm going to take a quick pause, see if there are any questions for users, identifying users, user journeys. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. If
So
there are no
just
questions,
have
sorry,
one
go ahead.
question, Ankit. Sorry. So how we will get to know about the users for like our product? So like, is there a process for that? Like in this case, we know, okay, so for Uber, it could be passenger, driver, or customer support. So, but Like if we have some new idea or something, so like, is there a process for that, or how do we do that?
So
Yep, Ankit. Yeah,
sorry, go
sorry,
ahead,
go ahead,
Dr.
Ankit. No, go ahead.
So typically when you're doing the visioning exercise, right? I think that was Pallav. So typically when you're doing a product visioning exercise and when you're trying to draw the needs of why that product should exist, that's where we, try to identify who our users are going to be. So if you look at what we did in the first exercise, we said either for ice cream lovers or for um, people who have too many products at home or for smartphone users, right? That will give you a very broader category of who your users are going to be. But then when you do something like a user persona, user sketch, empathy map, and things like that, that we'll try to cover at the end if possible, then these things will give you a deeper insight of who your user could be, right?
Thank
So
you.
Just to add to it, what Ankit mentioned, and we'll cover it in the end. Basically, there's a whole lot of research that goes into this. Like even before you do the elevator pitch, there's an activity or there's a discovery phase where you literally try and see whether you're trying to solve the right problem. Building the right product the right way comes later, but trying to understand whether you're trying to solve the right problem is nothing but a discovery phase where you do a lot of user research. You would do market research, so imagine you have an idea, but you don't know who the customers potentially could be. And you also don't know maybe what value it's going to give to them. So you can have like a user experience researcher, a business analyst, a product person come together, do some user research to validate your idea, to see if it is really has the potential, who are the customers going to be, what value is it going to cater to them. And then you come to the bit where, you do an exercise, which is visioning.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
okay, we'll jump back to the exercise mode, right? So we are all familiar with the slides that we have, right? So just below your elevator pitch, we've created some empty sticky notes or boxes, right? What we would like to do is, I think let's take 8 minutes again, maybe, and then come up with one user journey, identify a user for the products that we've created, and then write one journey for that user, right? What are the set of actions that they're going to achieve their goal? So that would be the slide just below your elevator pitch for each of the
Yep.
groups.
Okay.
And just to summarize it, basically you are the user now, like put yourself in the shoes of a user and you have a goal to achieve. For example, you want to eat an ice cream. What are the steps you would have to do in the interim to get to that ice cream, to achieve your goal? That's essentially what you need to write. Forget all the fancy names, forget about user journeys, forget any alternative names. It's basically the steps that you need to do to achieve your goal. That's it.
How long will this breakout group be for?
Ankit, can we
Okay.
keep it a bit shorter this time? Maybe 6 minutes?
Maybe 5. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
5
6
to
minutes.
6 minutes is fine.
So 7:20.
Yeah, 7:20. 5 minutes will be 7:16.
Works, yeah.
Okay, so I'll open all the groups now.
Okay.
So invites have been sent out. Please join your breakout groups.
Give it a few seconds for people to be back.
Everyone's back.
Okay, great. So again, like what we said in the first exercise, right? This is definitely not something that we can come up in 5 minutes. It's just to give an idea of the thoughts that need to go in to do this. But these are typically workshops and something. So like discovery, this is also for some of the projects, this could be a ceremony which is called as Inception, where you go in with a blank canvas and try to come up with a lot of things. So these are some key activities that go in an Inception, and Inception usually runs for a couple of days. So definitely not something that we can do in 5 minutes. Having said that, any group wants to volunteer to talk about their user journey?
Yeah, group 5.
Group 5, I'm gonna share, okay. Group 5 here. Okay, so okay, go ahead.
Smita?
So we would like to make a call, and the simple step would be, I mean, as a user, I would want my work to be easy. So I would just like pick up my phone and maybe call a service, whatever that is, and the call will be connected.
Okay, and is there any alternate journey to that?
There is a manual way to do that.
So your goal
Yeah.
here being you want to access or
someone.
get, yeah, you want to basically get in touch with someone.
Correct.
So for me, the bigger goal is getting in touch with someone, and getting in touch via a call is one of the options.
Mhm.
The alternatives could be you get in touch with them via a message,
Message,
that
yeah.
could be like a SMS, or the third option could be even WhatsApp, or even there might be multiple options, like you get in touch with them with a Zoom call or a Meet call. So the
Mhm.
goal for me here is getting in touch with someone, and there's so many ways to get in touch with them.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Okay,
We take
Ankit.
one more group.
Yeah, maybe we take a group and then we break.
Group 1.
Group 1, sure.
Okay, so unfortunately we couldn't pitch last time because then we were confused about a couple of ideas for a product. But then finally, I mean, in this exercise we have something. So maybe I'll start with the product and then user journey. So our product is basically a service for which we're going to create a website or app. And so anybody who's looking for any services, so as of now we're restricting to one city. So our target audience would be from that particular city, and so anybody who's looking for a cleaning services, maid services, and these people are going to come to our website. So our user journey, user will come to our website. Then, basis on the services, what he's looking, he'll define his category. If it is cleaning services, then in cleaning also we'll have a couple of options: home, office, car cleaning. And then we'll ask the user to maybe give the location where they're looking for services. And once they put their postal code location, basis on then we'll give them a vendor list. Then user can select the vendor basis on the rating reviews they've already got. And then later they can book a services and make a payment. So this is going to be our user journey.
And so Vijay, did your group also think of a little more into detail of when you say the customers from a particular city, but is there any age group that you think they will belong to, or any particular profession,
So
any kind of, yeah.
considering every age group is looking for the services, but then as of now there's no demographic or any other criteria. So that is why we're restricting ourselves, considering we also have to impanel vendors from the particular cities. So we only want to restrict as per the cities or the area where we serve it. User can be from any age group, especially from 18 to 50 or 60, or probably a senior citizen who's looking for services. That's the whole idea.
Cool. This looks good. I just have one suggestion.
Yeah.
The goal is to access the service according to me.
Right.
And there are multiple ways of doing it, right? Like website is one way to do it. And I'm again circling back to the previous example that I gave. So you could access, and I'm just going to make up a name. There's a similar service in India called as Urban Clap. I think they've changed the name to something, but let's just call it Urban Clap.
Okay.
So I can access Urban Clap either by making them a call, like a call center, and asking them about the categories, or I could book the services through website, through an app, or even like a simple WhatsApp interactive thing, right? Like I
Right.
ask what services are available. So the only suggestion I would have is that, and
Right.
I am assuming you would have picked like one of the journeys, but there are multiple
Right.
ways.
Yeah. So we can
Yeah.
probably pick up the chatbot option or voice assistant, where people can probably use the services by using voice assistant services. So that is also something we can explore.
Absolutely, and especially because you want to test your idea and you're starting with a small city, what you can do is put in the minimal efforts to test your idea. So you need not develop something, you can just have like a person taking the calls and then see what is the response you get, what kind of inquiries you get, what services can you start with, and things like those. Ankit is going to touch base a little bit on this concept later, but this is just to
Sure.
give you a glimpse.
Thank you.
Okay, then I think it's time. Ankit, shall we take a quick break?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Welcome back. I hope you've had that caffeine kick or have stretched leg and you're all ready to soak in a little more information. So let's begin. So Ankit spoke briefly about the user journeys, and then eventually he will also talk about how do you convert these journeys into a map. But if you have like a solid journey, it becomes really very easy to prepare your backlog. And when you say backlog, it's literally a pool of items from which you will be working. The thumb rule here is you have one product, you'll have one backlog for it. It should always be ordered. So the most important things that you're going to work on now should be at the top, and the least important things which you will be working on in a later time frame should be at the bottom. It is a living artifact. It is always going to change. It will be there till the time your product is there. So it's not the case that you've released a first version in the market and the product backlog will cease to exist. It won't. It will still be there as long as the product exists. And it's a single source of truth, to avoid any confusion. It's the single source of truth from where you can access things. So basically, whatever you need to do for a product, whatever ideas you have, whatever bugs you have for a product if you've released it, whatever things you want to try out, like new proof of concepts or spikes or any hypothesis that you want to work on, should always go into the backlogs. So anything and everything related to the product, including research, should be a part of it. And one of the items in the product backlog is a user story. And this is a typical mistake people make. User story is not the only item. It is one of the important items. And yes, it is the important one because you build your features, or user stories are the placeholders through which you deliver value. So I'm not going to speak a lot about backlog, but moving on to user stories. A user story is literally, let's imagine a story, right? There is a central character, there is some problem. The central character then in some way overcomes the problem and then achieves something at the end. Any movie you watch, any book you read, essentially either is like one big story or like smaller stories, but essentially the crux of it remains the same. And as humans, we are really very good storytellers. Even from ancient times in Stone Age, you can see a lot of evidence where there are a lot of caves on which there's some pictorial representation. And these are all stories. So that inevitably makes us really good storytellers. So why not leverage it for development of products, and not necessarily software products, but any kind of a product? So the best way to capture what you need to do, or best way to capture a requirement, or the best way to capture value that you need to deliver is through a user story. And there are multiple ways of writing it, but the typical format a lot of people tend to use is as a, I want to, so that. So as a, who is that individual? What role are you playing? I want to. This is a problem that you want to overcome, or this is the benefit you want to reap, so that so I want to perform some action basically, and the benefit that you want to reap. So that, it will either help you make more money or make your life easier, make you healthier, sharper, or whatever that could be. User stories should always be a beginning of a conversation. So the whole purpose of a user story is not to detail it out a lot, but to ensure that conversations happen. And hence it is called as the beginning of a conversation. It talks about the functionality or value that you're delivering to a user, and it should be technology agnostic. For example, I should be able to use the same story even after 100 years if it is delivering some value. For example, I work in a space where researchers submit paper to a system, right? Like researchers make the research available. Now, if I write a simple user story saying that, as a researcher, as a scientist of nanotechnology, I want to make my research available to the world so that they can leverage it in their day-to-day lives. This is like very high level, 15,000 feet above. But now imagine if I say, I want to write a paper and submit it inside a system so that people can read it and make use of it in their daily lives. Which one is better? So earlier people used to send in the papers by post, then maybe by email. Now we have built fancy systems. Who knows what will happen 10 years from now? But if I write it in a generic way, just capturing the value, it will still remain valid. And that's the whole point of a user story. Now, there are a few criteria which usually are suggested. It's like a guideline. It's called as INVEST. Nice word to remember. I think all of us remember what investments are. So INVEST is the criteria here. When you write a user story, it should be independent from other stories. For example, it should, as far as possible, you should try and put all dependencies together so that one story is not dependent on another. It might be an not an anti-pattern, but it might defy the other principle that we have, which will come later. But independent is try to keep them as independent as possible so that you don't have to wait, oh no, if I pick this functionality to work on, it's dependent on something. So try and avoid that. It should be negotiable. And when I say negotiable, you need to mention what goal to achieve. How to achieve that goal can be negotiable. It can be in n number of ways. And the example that I gave is delivering value to users by making research available to them. Now, if you make it available in a PDF, or you make it available in an audio, or you make it available in a video, does not really matter. It will matter eventually, but look at the benefit first. Third, it needs to be valuable. And we've discussed enough about value, but that is the backbone. That's the core of everything that you do. Fourth, it needs to be estimable. Why? Because you know when it should be completed, right? You know how big or small the complexity it has. So when you're discussing stories, and the whole purpose of having a short story is discussions happen without detailing it out. And it's every individual's responsibility in the team. So if you are able to gauge, okay, this is going to take X amount of time. And again, I don't want to get into a discussion of putting estimates or like sizing stories. This is estimate in general. It is not just talking about estimates that is related to stories. It should be small enough. So whenever you break a story, it should be as granular as possible. You create a vertical slice always. It shouldn't be that testing is one story, development is another story. That should not be the case. And the last, but the most important one is it should be testable. For example, there's some amazing value related to a product, or but how do you know that value is delivered to the customer? So you should be able to test it, because only when you know it has delivered some value, only then the product is going to be effective. But measurement here is very, very important. Completing something is not necessarily delivering value. For example, I might finish coding a feature and push it in live, and it might eventually be some functionality. But if I'm not able to test whether someone is using it or not, then that's not going to be of a lot of use. Then there's another principle, which is called as the 3 C's. So it's literally card, conversation, and confirmation. So a user story should ideally be the size of a postcard. The reason is because it's a beginning of a conversation. If you really write it in a very detailed way and pass it on to the development team, it's not going to help because it's not going to take your everyone's perspective. And an individual, as rightly said in the beginning, is only going to know as much. The collective wisdom is going to help us develop better products. Conversation. So when you are doing activities of what are the possible options, do we do it something through a PDF or a video or audio, or in case of the urban clap example that I gave, what are the options that we need to begin with? Maybe start with a call, then you give options on WhatsApp because it is easy to configure. Then maybe you build an app, then maybe you build a website if needed. So all these conversations need to happen so that possibilities emerge, and then you can pick the best ones out of it. And confirmation is nothing but agreeing to certain parameters that you will be testing. And hence it is called conversation confirmation. Now coming to the confirmation bit, basically, how would you know that you can test something? It is through an activity called as acceptance criteria. Usually people write those as like given, when, then, but it could be as a simple checklist as it can be. The criteria, it's basically a checklist. If you finish it, you can say confidently that the story is complete. Now imagine Ankit and I are working on the same team. I say it's complete, Ankit says it's not complete. How do we know, who's right here? So for us to know who's right, there is a criteria, which is the acceptance criteria, which should be established right in the beginning. It should be very clear and concise. And if a story has multiple acceptance criteria, it is also a good reminder for you to split it. Now, I'm just going to quickly share an example of the acceptance criteria. So if you move on the right, a very important suggestion is whenever you're writing a story, always try to picture it in the scheme of bigger things. So like if you have a value chain or a value stream, where does it sit? Not only it helps you as a functional person to get the context, but it also helps the development team. So for them, it's not just a piece of code. They really understand what value they're bringing to it, and then they might also think of the edge scenarios. So in this case, if you look at a user flow, which is accessing Uber, requesting a ride, taking a ride, I'm going to take the example of request a ride. And the user story that I've written here is quite simple, that as a passenger, I want to enter the from location and to location so that I reach my destination. And there could be multiple ways of testing it, right? Like the to location shouldn't be blank, from location shouldn't be blank. If, for example, I'm working on something which automatically populates the population, the to location, then if that is on, that's a good thing for me. The from and to location should not be same. So these are the checklists that I would be testing for. And another thing that I would want to remind you is, so far we've just spoken about the happy parts, and that's not how real life works, right? Like you want to enter something, you want to access the app, you are able to access it, you are able to book it. That's not what usually happens. So there's usually like a happy path and there's a sad path, and there could be alternative paths. So essentially you call it whatever, sad or alternative. What is important is you cover all scenarios, but you also pay attention to not go in too much detail or in an analysis paralysis mode. You should have a list of all scenarios, but you should also see what's the cost benefit analysis of picking only the scenarios which you need at that point of time. So circling back to our example of populating from location, I would say if the happy path for me is the from location is populated automatically. The sad path for me is, it just says if I'm entering the location, it says this location is not serviceable. So that really makes me unhappy. An alternate path could be, there's some error that is displayed because the system has crashed or whatever it is. So that's essentially a bit about user stories. From my experience of 10 years of writing user stories, I've summarized a few points which are around always put the user first and solutionize later. Writing it on a card really helps with it because there you're just pointing out the value. You're not detailing it out. So you're not solutionizing it. Place the story in the bigger context of things like I showed you. Like give that visibility of where it fits in the bigger user journey. Then call out assumptions explicitly and act to address them. measure the success of a story. As I said in the beginning, you working on something and delivering something does not mean you're successful. Success only comes if you know if X number of people have used the app, or if it has helped earn some money, or it has helped people read safer. So whatever value parameters you have defined earlier, you need to have some measures in place, and then have a common understanding of done. For example, if I finish all these parameters, have that establishment right in the beginning, so there's no confusion between me and Ankit as to when the story is done and when it is not. I've put together a short template here. There are many ways of doing it, but for now, I think this should be of help. That's pretty much on user stories. Next, we move on to how do you put these stories together to actually make a delivery plan, for which I'm going to pass on to Ankit. I am super happy to take questions, but maybe we can park that to the end. I'm just conscious of time right now.
Okay, thank you, Rucha. So user stories, aka requirements, right? If you have them all, right, you have a product idea, you've broken down it into bits of requirements. Now, how do you collectively keep them so it makes sense to you, or it tries to give you a vision of what you're trying to do now, next, later? So there are a couple of ways that you can do that, right? You can list down all the requirements very typically into, say, an Excel format, right? However, this is more like a 2D backlog, a flat backlog, which will not help you visualize things, or which will not be very effective when you're trying to prioritize these requirements. Why do we need to prioritize? Because at any point of time, you're only going to have certain, only a limited amount of people, limited amount of money, and all other resources. So you're always going to need to prioritize. You will always need to do a sequencing of things. So what comes handy is more of a visual uh, way of tracking your requirements, which is more like, which is what we call a story map. So once you have broken down all your requirements, you've broken down your journeys into user stories, you could have something which is like a complete map to the entire journey, right? So story maps are nothing but the visual representation of your requirements. It is a complete map, right? It involves multiple users. It tries to capture multiple journeys from start to end like a flow. And so I've seen teams putting it on a wall that they're going to work for this next 6 or 8 months, and that entire wall is a journey filled with post-its. Or you could do it on a table around which you're going to work, or it could be also done in the most popular tools, right? Jira, Rally, whatever. So there are multiple ways you can do it. But why do you need to do it? Is because it's a visual representation. It helps you take decisions faster. It gives you a map to the completeness, how you're going to achieve your product, achieve your product goals. And then once you have all these requirements stored in a place, right? The obvious thing is, um, when we're saying we're doing things the agile way, or when we're trying to adapt to the agile ways of working, we want to deliver things into releases, not just put one big thing out there. So what we do, and I know is the most common term, is MVP, minimum viable product. Everyone's heard of MVP, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, I see thumbs up. Thank you for that. So MVP is nothing but the minimum viable product, the very first thing that you would want your customers to experience from what is that you're trying to build from a very long roadmap. But MVP is also something that you are doing to get feedback from the users or customers. So if it's not really an MVP, if you're not getting any if you're not putting it out to get feedback, you put something out, your users experience it, they give you feedback, which is either great, or which would either tell you to pivot, or which might even tell you to not continue it further. That's what an MVP does for you, right? So MVP is nothing but the first thing that you put out there as a part of your product, the very simpler minimalistic thing that your customers get to experience and which becomes a test for you if you're going to, go further, build new features, or maybe just shut down. Interestingly, it is not an option to either do a functional POC or a reliable POC or user. It has to be a vertical slice. It needs to have a, a slice of everything that your user wants, right? It should not just be a part of it. It has to be an end-to-end user journey that gets covered. And if I were to give you quick examples, right? Airbnb. So the very first thing that Airbnb did was just put, one website, a phone number, and this is what we are doing. If you need our services, call us and we'll tell you. Or similarly for Uber as well, right? You just call them and they tell them the destination and they will book your service. There was no app, no web, nothing. Even better, or interestingly, there's a video which I will not play for now, just in the interest of time. But for something like a Dropbox, right? Very, very first of its kind of a product, the MVP was a YouTube video. So the creator put out a YouTube video. This is what this is what you will experience if you use the product, and the amount of response that the person got from video is what led into the full development of Dropbox. So these are some examples of what your MVPs should be. And the other main important thing to know is it needs to be incremental. It needs to be incremental, not just iterative. So if you were to build a car, for a very, very simple example, it's not like you first put out the tires there, because the customers are not going to do anything with the tires. You probably want to build something which is only the cabin, maybe, and then probably a carrier truck, and then probably put a roof over, then maybe add AC, then maybe add a music system and so on. But then also at every iteration that you're putting it out there, try to collect feedback and incorporate and see if you're going into the right direction. So, okay, we have a list of requirements. We put that visually. Now we want to try and design a minimum viable product. But how would we get there? How would we decide or how would we come up with the first cut of our product? So one thing, like I said earlier, right, it's very important to prioritize. From everything that you can do to make a product, prioritize what is going to give the early feedback, or or is going to deliver maximum value, and always prioritize items which the customers can use versus a feature that might not be used or might be used optionally. So if I go through a quick view, right? Sorry for too much moving around. This is a sample story map that we created for Uber. Me and Rucha, we created this, but yeah, obviously there's going to be more of it. But so there's a passenger who wants to book ride. There's a driver passenger who wants to drive the passenger around. There is a support executive who wants to help in case needed. So we've tried to take their journeys, a very high level journey. So the passenger would access Uber, take ride, pay for the cab. The driver would accept ride, drive passenger. The admin would probably confirm, answer any kind of queries, request feedback and all that. And then what we've essentially done is we've tried to list down the multiple ways these goals can be achieved, right, for the journey. So I can access Uber via a website, a phone call, a SMS, a app, a kiosk. I can request a ride manually, or I can mention that on a call, or I can still send yes or no on an SMS. So all that can be done into multiple options. We've listed them down below. And then essentially what we did is we tried to identify what's the most simple thing that we could do, right? The very, very bare minimalistic thing that we do, which is also called walking skeleton, right? So for example, continuing from the example, we say that the customer they don't need to have an app, they don't need to have a website, they could just call Uber. They can tell them that they need to request a ride from location to the other location. They may not have tracking at the moment. They can pay for cash if online is not available, right? The driver could accept a phone call and say, yes, I will drive the passenger, and the customer support could be available on a phone call. So if you see here, there is really no system designed. There is no app made. There is no website, but there is still an MVP out there, which real customers will use, which will generate revenue, which will generate feedback, and which could be used and, improved. Even the feedbacks could be a physical paper or a printed form. So this is how you should try to look for the first cut or the MVP, something that delivers your value to the customer, a proof of concept that they can use, but more essentially that generates feedback for you. So you could use that and then bring it back to your product team. And then in a similar fashion, you could, just design, okay, what are the next features that you're going to do in release 1 based on the feedback? What are the second, the next set of features, the next set of features, and so on. And like Rucha said, it's a living artifact. So this product backlog will keep living till the time your product lives. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here for MVP. I know we are just about time. Maybe I'll give it to Rucha for a quick more moments. Rucha.
Yep. Thank you, Ankit. That was a very nice explanation. Can you please switch boards? I will share the link with you. The main user journey, please. Okay, so there's a reason we called this session as Idea to Inception. And I know we have covered a few bits here and there, but now is the
I think we lost connection with Richa.
Okay, I thought it was just 1 second.
I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know till what point did you hear me?
No, we
But I was
couldn't
like-
hear. Maybe you want to quickly go through again.
Yeah, okay. I'll just quickly summarize, and I bet this is my last 3 minutes. So basically, so far we spoke about a lot of things, right? And there's a reason we called this session as Idea to Inception, or like monetizing the product basically, is because we want to connect all the dots. Like a lot of us individually and even collectively know about a lot of things, like how do you create a product vision, how do you strategize, how do you even build a backlog or a release plan. This is our attempt of bringing everything together on a single board, which we are going to make public and make it accessible to everyone. So if we begin with, we start with the biggest diagram. If you can zoom into the big picture, Ankit, that's usually what teams fail is there's a product vision that you have, but it does not seep into the daily work that you do. But even before that, there's a company vision, there's a strategy to achieve that vision, and there's a product vision, there's a strategy to achieve that vision of the product. There's a release plan, there's a sprint plan, there's a daily plan. So we've tried to cover that. In every picture, you will see which of the onion rings are covered. So here we talk about product, managing them, what value is, how do you validate it. In the second frame, we then talk about the business strategy models. A business strategy is very important. Like a vision is the North Star, and a strategy are the steps that you need to take to reach that North Star. And there are multiple ways. You could do it in the form of a business model canvas or a value proposition canvas. And there are detailed steps of how do you do it. You just need to answer those questions, similar to an elevator pitch. Then delivering value, we've been talking a lot about it, but how do you measure that value is delivered? So there's a beautiful framework called as EBM, that is evidence-based management. I've added a snippet there and it is available on scrum.org. Then you talk about discovery, the phase that I spoke about, doing the user research and looking at if you're building the right thing. Building the thing right comes later, but validating it we spoke about the vision already. Then moving on is Inception. This is like you have validated what the problem is, you've established it. Now you meet as a group to see how you solve that problem and gain some benefit for yourselves and for the users. So here you talk about who the users are, what their personas are. Personas are very, very important so that you can segment the users. You can do it through empathy maps as well. Basically, not a lot of times users are going to tell you how they feel. You will have to ask a lot of smart questions in terms of what you hear from them, how do they think, they feel, what is it that they see, what is it that they say. So usually people say things, but what they feel, what they hear, what they see could be different. So that's nothing but an empathy map. User, after that, we have a user journey and a user flow. And Ankit has covered that already. Moving on in the next frame, you see what a product backlog is, what stories are, how to write those stories, and a simple, effective, and a very, very powerful way of creating a backlog is impact mapping. It's a very simple step. You just have 4 steps, and then you can see the tree expands. The last section then becomes, the deliverable becomes your product backlog. You can read about that later. And then moving on to one of the last frames, which is a very important thing. Ankit has already covered the story map and MVP. But there's prioritization, there's estimation. How do you do it? Why is it even needed? And then the most important bit, which is essential for all of us to survive, is delivery, right? Like you can talk about ideas as much as you want, but what is important is you deliver a piece and you make some profits from it. Delivery also means you are able to validate the value that you're delivering. And when you deliver, the biggest question anyone could ask in any BA interview is, I have a problem. Can you help me do it in X amount of days or X amount of efforts? And almost always I've seen people falter there. So this one frame is a single answer to it. If your project is like fixed scope or if it is fixed time, how is it that you can estimate, and how is it that you can do it even before the project starts so that you have a fair idea of where you can reach. That's pretty much the frame. I'm going to post the links in the chat for you shortly. We have a video series done on this, which will explain to you each of the sections very, very clearly. And we are also going to give you access to this frame. Having said that, it should be clear in itself. If it is not, then here are our LinkedIn profiles. You can reach out to us anytime. I don't know if we have time to take any questions, but if not, you can always reach out to us anytime. That's pretty much it from me. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience.
So I'll just take 10 seconds to add to what Rucha said, right? All of these exercises that you do, right? And connecting back to the title of the workshop. So I would really, really like if you want to go back to work and try this with your teams where you, and if it may not be related to your work, but it's still a beautiful exercise to take an idea and build a project plan out of it. So identify who's going to use it, how they're going to use it, how can you do this kind of completes the entire story. So do give it a try. It's something that will help you to come up with more clearer and better project plans. I see you just put the link to YouTube video series which covers all these in a very more detailed format that we've talked about. Again, thank you for being a wonderful audience.